Now, to give us more perspective on what is happening at this moment in this conflict, we're being joined by Professor James A. Russell, who's an associate professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at NPS, where he teaches courses on U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. Professor, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us on this broadcast on WION. Now, in the aftermath of the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, there's been a lot of talk in terms of how Iran is likely to respond to this. What do you think will be the nature of the Iranian reprisal?
Well, I think we're in for some version of the replay that we saw a couple of months ago, in which Iran feels compelled to try to do something. This is yet another direct provocation by the Israelis. And sooner or later, Iran is going to have to respond very forcefully. The last time around, they telegraphed that they were going to be attacking Israel with drones. The United States, of course, deployed forces to the region and intercepted most of those drones. Israel is playing with fire here. And I regret to say that the United States is being dragged along behind it and is saying and doing all of the wrong things. It's not in America's interest to see this war escalate, and yet all the steps we are taking suggest that we are encouraging the escalation. In other words, we're telling the Israelis we will defend them whatever they do. It's just absolutely crazy.
It's interesting that you point out about the nature of American involvement in this. Now, the last time round, the Iranians carried out a reprisal against the Israelis' foreign attack that the Israelis had carried out on the Iranian embassy in Damascus. The Iranians fired 300 drones and rockets. America at that time, under Joe Biden, of course, had said that America would not take part in any Israeli retaliation. What do you think would be the American stance this time round? Because it is very crucial as to what the Americans do in this crisis.
You're absolutely right in this. And all I can do is point to the Secretary of Defense's announcement of the United States moving forces into the region to back up the Israelis. The implication is that the United States will become directly involved if this circumstance between Israel and Iran, and let's not also forget Turkey, of course. The Turkish president came online a few days ago to say that they feel compelled to respond in some way, shape, or form. We are in a terrible situation of multiple uncertainties that could cause escalation into a wider and very dangerous regional war. A regional war, we should all be clear, and your viewers should all be clear. This is all circumstance that's been created by the Israelis and their genocidal war of ethnic cleansing in Gaza, right? That's how this has all come about. And I should hasten to add that the United States has enabled this with money and with arms and with limitless political support, and has been played mercilessly. President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken have been, they've been the puppets that Netanyahu is playing with. It's a real embarrassment for the United States to watch this debacle unfold.
Now, a lot of people are in fact saying that one of the reasons as to why Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in Iran was to try draw an Iranian response to that would then bring in the Americans. Because at this moment as we speak, Benjamin Netanyahu faces serious charges of corruption. If the war on the Gaza Strip were to end, then he would be prosecuted for those charges of corruption, which would mean the end of his political career. Is this escalation happening by the Israeli Prime Minister so that he can elongate his political career?
I can't answer that question, of course. I don't know what the calculations of Benjamin Netanyahu are about his political future. I can only say that as an observer that closely watches the region, is that Benjamin Netanyahu has long sought a wider regional war, right, between Israel, its neighbors, and the Iranians, of course. And what he really seeks to do, of course, is to involve the United States in that war. And the mystery to me as an observer of this is what he can expect to accomplish, right? The IDF could not defeat Hamas. they're not going to be able to defeat Hezbollah. What exactly are they going to be able to do in a shooting war with the Iranians, launching airstrikes and a few missiles? It's absolute crazy. There are no achievable political objectives in the wider regional war except one, which is that the United States become directly involved militarily with Iran, which, if I'm in the White House and I'm giving advice to the president, I'm saying this is the last thing we want to do, right? And yet the American president says and does nothing. And instead we have, again, bellicose statements and troop movements coming out of the Secretary of Defense, which is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. We should be discouraging escalation. We should not be telling the Israelis we are going to defend them, whatever they do, however ridiculous their provocations and illegal their provocations are. We're going to be there to defend them. It's utter madness.
I think you've summed it up beautifully there. Thank you very much indeed, Professor James Russell, for joining us and getting us that perspective.
Thank you very much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.